Okay, so that seems to be on.
Okay, cool. So it's just like the seconds are just going, and yeah, so I guess when that stops, it'll convert it into a file, and then you're able to then just send that. I'll give you the email to send to the editor. So that way, if we're pausing or if I'm talking over the top of you, she can, or vice versa, she can kind of smooth it all out. So that way it sounds like a good episode.
I guess I'll be able to find that file, that voice recorder file. It'll probably just naturally save to the laptop, will it?
Yeah. So I think when you press stop, it'll just kind of, store it. And then I can't remember where, but I think when you press stop, it kind of shows you where it gets stored into. And then you could go to save, like you could save the file and then like afterwards, and then you can save it to your desktop. So that way it just comes up right there on your desktop.
Sure.
Cool.
Cool.
Hang on a sec. Kai, what's up? All right. So with this recording, am I mentioning your name at all, or are you someone that is kind of like anonymous, and then you're speaking about your experiences, but you're not mentioning your work as such? It's more just like a general.
Look, I think if I'm just Marcus.
Yep.
That'll do. Yeah.
I was there's someone in Ben's family that's into family trees and stuff, and so we were just saying, oh my gosh, I wonder if like you guys are related, because it's just,
I think I asked you that once.
Yeah.
Like a few years ago. I think he said that he didn't know anyone that I knew.
Yeah, I think that might have been like 5 years ago. Yeah, I do remember vaguely that, and then he didn't know.
Vaguely.
But maybe like your parents or something, like he might not have known your name, but maybe your parents or your grandparents, so that way there's like a connection from higher up or something. But
it's not a super common surname, so
yeah, it's like Norwegian, and it's like
Is it? Okay.
Hey, you know where all that stuff is? It isn't in the bottom drawer down there. Sorry, we're in the caravan, and
no worries.
Yeah, so I'm in Western Australia in a place called Jurien Bay, and we kind of made it across in 6 months, and then now we've got another 6 months to go until we end up in Queensland and enjoying the East Coast. So
wow, you must be having a good time.
Oh, it's been crazy. I was gonna text Kelando actually, because she kind of helped a bit at the beginning, and now I want to text her and say, how did you move back into society? Like, how did you get back into the real world? I think Daz struggled with it a little bit. Yeah.
But I don't know how either. Yeah, you just want to keep going, wouldn't you?
It's like just going overseas and traveling and just not wanting to come back, and being able to do it with kids is it's like a loophole in the system to be able to.
Oh, it is. Yeah, it's so good you're able to do it.
Yeah, it's good. I encourage anyone who's keen, for sure. All right, so I'll just get the questions. I also wanted to at some point ask like some of the challenges that caseworkers, case managers face as well, that you've experienced firsthand, and so that might come up as well.
Throw me a few curveballs. It's okay.
Yeah. There might be questions within the question.
I'll be like, that's not in the question sheet. You can't ask me that.
You can't ask me that. Don't throw me off. I've got it all written down.
I'm in a zone. Yeah, I've got points, dot points.
Yeah. Okay, I'll start soon. I've just got kids around me just getting what they need to get before we start.
I just need a little pad.
But why? But what? I'm only going to be an hour.
Just a little pad. I just need it.
Did
To
you
write
try?
things
Look, there's a
down.
pad down there on
A
underneath.
tiny pad.
No, like get the bigger one. You can cut it up.
I need a pad that I can write on.
I don't have.
Oh,
I'll go into my car and you can use part of my diary. Go into the
that
car.
won't work.
Okay, can you hop out because I need to,
Not yet.
please? Please, I need to go. I need to
find a
start.
pad. Serious. This is very
No, I'm
urgent.
serious.
This is urgent. I'm protesting.
It was you last time. It's me now.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
There's nothing. Can you please just go?
I need a pad.
I don't have one. There's nothing there. There's no point standing around and just looking, staring at things. There's like paper down there. You're just gonna have to make your own pad, little notepad. Okay. There is sorry, there's a fly buzzing around now. Okay. All right. So thank you, Marcus, for meeting me via Zoom. Yeah, it's been great sort of chatting with you about this topic of with your workspace and what you've been doing for the last 15 years or so, which is really amazing and great. So you just have this wealth of knowledge about foster care and permanency care, and yeah, would love to chat to you about your experiences and knowledge. So my first question is, so you've been working in the social welfare sector from frontline to managerial positions for over 12 years. Can you describe your experiences with case management, out of home care, child protection and program coordination?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, firstly, thanks for, appreciate being asked. It's wonderful work you're doing. And I'm happy to be a contributor. So yeah, there has been a number of years now for me. Yeah, around 12. It's been enjoyable. It's and challenging at the same time. I think people say that it must be rewarding, and it can be. Working at different ends of the continuum, and as you mentioned, it is the early intervention work along to the foster care program that I'm involved in now. So yeah, I guess it's having seen different ends of the spectrum, the continuum along those years. And so yeah, it's been challenging, but you definitely get a real appreciation for children and young people, their resilience, certainly the resilience of birth family too, and what staff have to juggle, with challenging work and their own personal lives. So it's great to go in every day, with a great team, and I've got a good team. So it's it's good. It's rewarding.
Yeah. So when you talk about the challenges, what are some of those challenges that, case workers and case managers face when they are out in the workforce and, having these sort of tough conversations with birth parents and foster carers and the child themselves?
Everyone's got to really work on their self-care. I think it's you've really got to be able to juggle what's happening for you at home. Everyone's got challenging situations at home, and they may have their own children or their own life experiences that's led them to want to do this kind of work, because I guess it takes a special kind of individual in a casework kind of position to read the referrals. So having an understanding of what's happened for the family, be able to process that and not to compartmentalize that, just to kind of look at that for what it is and work with families and be able to leave that at the door and go home and manage what's happening at home for caseworkers too. So some of the information that's read around the reasons why children are, part of preservation programs, or where there's been statutory intervention take place where children have come into care. Some of that detail is quite challenging to read, and staff need to be able to, process that. And a lot of agencies like ours have good systems in place around counselling and other things to be able to work through certain pieces of work. But it's a challenge, and a lot of the conversations are difficult. Families can be quite frustrated and angry and hurt. And for foster carers, sometimes they're managing children with quite challenging behaviours too, through whatever past traumas they've been through. So for caseworkers, I admire them for what they're able to do.
Yeah. And so because you've been in this sort of space for, over 12 years now, plus you've got your degrees and things like that, your role in your current organization, you're now sort of leading a team, and this organization, which we won't mention, but it focuses on achieving holistic permanency, safety and well-being for children and young people as part of a permanency support program. Can you explain how the permanent support program works and the essentials to achieving sort of that high quality casework practice?
Yeah, so at the moment, I lead a team on the South Coast, and as you say, we work in the permanency support space. And what that means is we're an accredited out-of-home care provider. And accredited means that we've been able to achieve that accreditation through the OCG. The OCG is essentially a peak body that governs the work that FSPs, there's so many acronyms in this area of work, but funded service providers like the agency I work for. And there's a set of standards that PSP programs, permanency support programs, have to meet to ensure that the children in care are being supported holistically, I guess. And there's a as I said, there's 10 different standards around how the organisation is led around child safety to decision making, working to ensure that the people that support the children are supported, and to the environment in which the children are being raised, to making sure that agencies are meeting those standards. So for us now in a permanency space, in a nutshell, it's about trying to achieve different permanency options for children, because the research will say that children who've been in out-of-home care and stay in long-term care, their outcomes aren't as ideal as you might see in a child who's gone into a different permanency pathway. So it's up to the team now, not just to work with the carers and not just to work with birth family and family time and other things, but also to try and achieve permanency for children. I know we'll go into that a little bit later too, but what those different permanency pathways look like for kids.
Yeah, fantastic. And you also work with culturally and linguistically diverse communities as well. And there's sort of a cultural planning that's provided and consultation. How important is that culture and language mitigation in that child's foster care experience?
Well, of course, it's essential. It's about a child's identity. That's what we're talking about, and it's up to agencies like the one I work for to support that diversity. And if you're trying to match a child with a particular family when a child is coming to care, and we're working with DCJ, Department of Communities and Justice. We're looking for a match for a child, but that household and those carers might not necessarily be of the same ethnicity as the child. So we need to be able to work around what that culture looks like, you know, and culture, everyone talks about culture. I think that we're talking about what things that might make up that particular culture around, you know, things like that we don't consider, like, you know, food, religious celebrations, you know, activities a particular ethnic group might enjoy and be engaged in their households, you know, practices like that. So we really have to try and match a child where we can with carers, say, or upskill those carers around how we can support children from a culturally and linguistically diverse background. It could be, and ideally, it's not always possible, but working closely with birth family, children's birth family, around what that might look like. And if we've got a good relationship as an agency with families, that we can work quite closely with families where possible, and carers can link in with birth family and agency, you know, around how best to support those practices. So we just have to try and get it right as best we can. And we've just got to link in with external services where we can to upskill staff around what's required, because you don't know what you don't know sometimes, I think, too, and we could be missing things that are hidden in plain sight, essentially. So it's important work, as much around a child's identity as anything, and knowing where they come from.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's so good that it covers that. And just in relation to Aboriginal children and their out of home care, what does that cultural planning look like, and that family led decision, like as you were talking about before, getting the family involved, and then also just to add to that question is, you know, in terms of that trauma informed response, how does your team and yourself, you know, face those sort of challenges when they arise?
Yeah, we have a partnership on the South Coast with an out of home care accredited Aboriginal out of home care provider. Sorry, so thankfully we're able to work very closely with them around particularly Aboriginal children and being culturally competent, really, and culturally aware, and particularly around, look, it's so important because it's important that we work quite closely with our out-of-home care Aboriginal partners, because particularly around placements where we might have an Aboriginal child who we're looking to place, but it's going to a non-Aboriginal family, we need to work with our partners around whether they may have a placement that's more appropriate, you know, with a family that's on country or from the same country. And so we really need to be working with them around those best practices. When I say, you know, best practices is a bit of a buzzword, but it really does mean, you know, we've got a child. We need to make sure that he's connected to culture. You know, do you have a carer, say, you know, who could meet those his cultural needs? And if they don't, and they say, well, look, I think he's probably best suited to the family that you're looking at, and then we work with them around cultural plans, and we have an Aboriginal consult panel where there's a through either DCJ or the agency that I'm talking about, around how best to work with that, you know, child and young person and his or her family. So that's really important to us to have that partnership, and yeah, we're thankful for that. In regards to the trauma informed response, it's hard to have an understanding as a non-Aboriginal person myself what families, say, through the stolen generation, it's not, I can't say I have an understanding, but it's more of an appreciation for the fact that we're dealing with intergenerational trauma, and working with Aboriginal families as a non-Aboriginal person. For me personally, it's around really listening and hearing and understanding, or trying to understand as best I can, where the family comes from, and what their particular needs are. So it's really, for me, around those families have had that lived experience and that generational trauma, and how we can work best to work appropriately, really.
Yeah, and having that cultural competency and understanding and awareness of that intergenerational trauma that sort of goes down into the children. And they do have triggers, and I guess it's about the casework is really getting to know the child and doing like a thorough assessment of that child, and then making sure that wherever they go, it sort of fits in alignment with their cultural identity, and if they've got any.
And we do have this wonderful partnership with an Aboriginal agency on the South Coast, but along with that, it's really all around family. It's for the caseworkers and me as a team leader. It's really having a strong relationship with birth family, kin, and really having an understanding of where the child's come from culturally, so we can work best with that child, and do it in a way that is being respectful to that child's birth family.
And I guess being so thorough with all of your sort of assessments, and making sure that it's the right fit, it does take a long time, and I know it can be frustrating, I guess, for some carers and birth families that that the process isn't quicker. But I think in part there's a reason why things do take a long time, is because you just want to get it right.
And trust takes a long time to build. If you might be working with a family who's not had a great relationship in the past with working with certain agencies or certain groups of people, and so as an out of home care provider, you've got to take the time to just really listen. And it's not something that can happen quickly. It's something that takes time. It's a process. So you need to be committed to really understanding where a child's come from and what his or her family looks like.
And so your staff, they would have to have this massive amount of empathy, and really put themselves in another person's shoes, and for that trust to be gained.
But I think you do, because I think anybody can really see through somebody who's not genuine in their work. And I like to think that the team that we have and the organisation that I work for is really invested in the work. I'm saying that everybody gets it right all the time. That's certainly not what I'm saying, but I like to think that we check in with particular agencies like the partnership that we have, and really work to understand the work that we're doing. And if we're making mistakes, I think we have that relationship where we can there's that relationship to kind of get that constructive feedback around, say, particular bits of work you're doing, and know for doing better next time. But it's and I keep going back to it being a relationship, but it's just something that takes time, and and staff that are committed to doing that work.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so because your organisation is in that out of home care space, but there is some cases, there's an aim to keep the children safe at home and to return home. What are the policies and procedures that hang on, are you there?
Mhm.
Oh, it's just telling me to upgrade or something, but I don't know why. I'll just keep asking. What are the policies and procedures that that govern that preservation, and what skills are needed to provide that high quality casework to restore that family unit?
Yeah, certainly family preservation work, early intervention work is different work to restoration work. I remember earlier work that I was doing and that we're now doing again in the out of home care space as well, around restorations, is preserving families. So certainly before children come into care, certain different agencies and agencies that I've worked for in the past are doing more of the early intervention work. So, you know, looking at safety of children, say a report's come in to the helpline and there's some concern there, that you'd be going out and working with families around, you know, minimizing the risk, you know, through home visiting and looking at who's in that child's community and trying to address all those worries, those original worries that say whoever's reported, say a school or someone may have had, and, you know, ideally keeping children at home is the preferred option. But when children do have to come into care, you know, as we know, we're, as I mentioned earlier, we're doing much more work in the altering a child's pathway from just remaining in long-term care to what's possible with, you know, mum or dad now. You know, there was a certain situation that was happening at a certain time, and there was risk that couldn't be mitigated. But what's happening for that family now? And I love the fact that I'm working in the out-of-home care space now, where there is much more work being done, you know, around restoration and family time and increasing family time, and working with families or extended families around the possibility of a child being able to be restored. So there is that preservation work that we do, and there's preserving that family arrangement once a restoration has gone through too. So we do case coordination work where an agency will stay involved with a family once a child has been restored and that restoration work has occurred. So yeah, it's what we're looking at now. Our team's looking at those particular areas of work, particularly around a couple of children and working really closely with a family, and it's great stuff. It's really empowering for birth family to know that, yeah, there was something happening at a certain space in time, but hey, we're doing better now. So is this possible? An original court order that stated no realistic chance for restoration, that can be altered. Not in all circumstances, but certainly when we're working really closely with birth family and carers, and there's a supportive environment for that, and you know, it's much more possible now, and it's great to be involved in.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's good that it's just, I guess, it's grown so much, I guess, probably since you first started working in the space to now, and just, yeah, exploring those areas of restoration, and then just the continuation of support for those families, that it's not just sort of ended sort of suddenly. It's sort of, there's a continuation of resources and support to kind of continue the family to thrive.
Yeah, and certainly not left behind once all that work is done and the work is put back through DCJ and the Children's Court, and all that casework is done for a restoration to go through. And I can't sit here and say that I've completed one myself at this stage, but I can certainly say that we're working on one with our team, and other teams within my organisation have achieved it. And I look forward to hopefully being able to sit in the same space as them at some point down the track. So yeah, Yeah, it's
Yeah, be a great case study to do.
yeah. Well, everyone's got a story, don't they? Something happened at a certain point in their lives that meant that, yeah, at that stage they weren't able to provide that safety and security for children, and children had to come into care. And for some families that stays the same, but for others, they work with support services. Family comes back involved, and you can enact change. So it's great to be able to do that more and more now, even working in out of home care, where traditionally you'd have more children on long-term orders and until they were 18. So yeah, it has changed a lot.
It's certainly a much better outcome than having a child in an out of home care situation, or even going from a placement to placement up until they're 18, and then having really nothing once they kind of get out of that.
Yeah.
We just wanted to I wanted to ask about guardianship and how that differs from adoption, an adoption process. We've got, wait, before you answer, we've got 3.5 minutes, but I might set up another Zoom and then record again, because when I interviewed someone last time, it just allowed me to speak forever because it was a one-on-one, but then they must have changed that.
I think they do probably change it, but I think they do just let you continue.
Oh, okay, good. All right.
Through my time.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Let's just see what happens if it cuts off. All right. Yeah. So I guess the difference between guardianship and adoption, and what that means for the child.
They do differ legally, and one is preferred over the other in certain circumstances. For children on PRM to their 18, so their parental responsibility to the minister till they're 18, they it's really that feeling of stability. And I think that first and foremost, guardianship and adoption really provides that stability, that I'm not going anywhere, that these carers they're really committed. They've committed to either one of these, and so that feeling of belonging, I think, works for either guardianship or adoption, in my opinion. But ideally for guardianship, they vary legally. With adoption, you have all legal and parental responsibility goes to the particular family. Adoption and open adoptions, as we see now, aren't so preferable for Aboriginal families, because it's really important to maintain that connection to family, and you ideally you still maintain that connection to family in an adoption, but it's much more of a permanent arrangement where a child comes into that family and they're part of that household permanently, essentially. Whereas a guardianship is more, you might see a guardianship more where a birth family is still involved. Say they support the guardianship to the carers because of they may have things going on that continue and things that mean that the child would never be restored. But a guardianship really allows for the carers and the birth family, say, to really maintain that open relationship where you're still supporting family time. It's a really, I guess, an organic, really natural relationship between the two. And these are just two examples. You can get that in adoption too, but guardianships probably would be more conducive to a kinship care arrangement where grandparents are looking after their child, but their son or daughter is still involved necessarily. But they take on that guardianship just to give that child that sense of permanency. Where an adoption is probably, in some cases, where you might not have as much of an involvement with birth family and all the legal rights and responsibilities